The world is full of wonders, or so they say. But if you're a little bored today, this video will for sure catch your interest. From a very special place they call the Doomsday Vault, to the most magical caves in the whole world that you won't believe actually exist, here are 20 things that'll make you say, wow. Number 20. Remove lice. Let's get rid of lice on sad boys' hair. If you don't know what head lice is, then you've never been to school or you don't have children. They can be easily transmitted between children and therefore spread quickly. Parents normally see their children scratching their heads because they're so annoyingly itchy and they crawl all over your scalp. Yikes. The trick is to get to their eggs first, but for this poor boy, it was too late and the infestation is incredible. I dare you, don't say wow while watching this video. The sheer amount of lice that's being combed out of his hair is disturbing to watch. We really feel for the boy, and to think that lice feed from our blood through the human scalp, it's no wonder that the kid looks so sad. They even had to put cotton wool in his ears to stop them from crawling inside. His mother is carefully and lovingly combing the lice out of his hair and brushing them off his face gently. After a few minutes, the job is done. But the mountain of lice left on the sheet is honestly quite staggering. Are you not itching all over the place just by watching this? Now imagine what this poor boy was going through. Keep a lookout for those little white eggs in your hair unless you want to have the same infestation. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 19. Moray eels are straight out of Alien. If you've ever seen any of the Alien films by Ridley Scott, then you will fully understand why some people are likening moray eels to the monstrous aliens in the movies. Remember how the alien creature in the film appears to have two mouths? One big, large mouth, and then a second one protruding from inside to kill its prey? Well, that's pretty much how a moray eel consumes its prey and food. Horrific, right? Who said that art imitates nature? Turns out they were right. In 2007, scientists discovered that not only do moray eels have incredibly powerful jaws with razor-sharp teeth, they also have a deadly hidden secret weapon. This is the pharyngeal jaw. Once the prey is caught by the first set of jaws and the teeth clamped firmly down, the second set of toothy jaws lunges forward and brings the kill back for swallowing. This is how the slender eel manages to eat such prey as very large fish, octopus, and squid. However, sometimes it's also humans who become victim to this alien-like jaw. One diving trip in Thailand turned tragic for diver Matt Butcher. A giant moray eel named Emma mistook Matt's hand for food. Once clamped down on his hand, Matt had the horrible experience of hearing the bone of his thumb crack and be bitten clean off with the pharyngeal jaw. Horrible stuff for Matt, but impressive design from the moray eel. Just be careful when diving with moray eels, and remember their treacherous hidden jaw. Number 18. Rain on Saturn is made of diamonds, not water. This next one's sure to make you go, wow. Imagine a planet where it rains diamonds and not water. Well, scientists believe that the sixth planet in the solar system, Saturn, has the perfect atmospheric conditions for diamond rain. Simply put, lightning storms turn methane into soot, which, as it falls, hardens into chunks of graphite and then turns into diamond with the extreme pressure found in that specific planet. Crazy, huh? The theory is still being debated amongst many scientists, but the general consensus seems to point to the theory being a reality. As Dr. Kevin Baines explains, it all begins in the upper atmosphere in the thunderstorm alleys where lightning turns methane into soot. As the soot falls, the pressure on it increases, and after about 1,000 miles, it turns to graphite, the sheet-like form of carbon you find in pencils. This graphite then turns into the sparkling diamonds we see in Hollywood. Dr. Baines works for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, so it's fair to believe he knows what he's talking about. But before you start paying for your spaceship ticket to Saturn to collect all those diamonds, don't get too excited. For starters, Saturn is about 1.5 billion kilometers from Earth, and also the pressure there is so intense that those diamonds eventually liquefy due to the hellish temperature at the extreme depths. Once again, your dreams of owning thousands of diamonds disappear into smoke, or in this case, liquid. Number 17. Female dragonflies fake sudden death to avoid male advances. We've all heard about the classic excuse of the wife or girlfriend to avoid intimacy with their male companions by faking a headache. But the female dragonfly takes it to another level, and you're never gonna believe how far. The zoologist Dr. Rasim Khalifa from the University of Zurich, Switzerland, has found that the female moorland hawker dragonfly fakes her own death to avoid intercourse. She does it in quite a dramatic fashion as well. She literally freezes in midair, crashes to the ground, and lies motionless until her aggressive male caller flies away. The male thinks she's dead because she lies upside down on her back, which is an atypical position for a butterfly. As we can see from this slow-motion video, when she feels safe again, she jumps back to life and flies off to find a male who she's more attracted to. This is not a rare occurrence. This is called sexual death feigning, and Dr. Khalifa's findings showed that 27 out of 31 females faked death to avoid unwanted males. However, only 21 of them were successful. We guess it's not just humans who need to learn the meaning of the word no. An interesting fact is that there are only 5 species that practice sexual death feigning, including a spider and praying mantis. Number 16. Robotic surgery. Technological advances continue to gain strength in the world as we know it, to the point of leaving behind what we used to believe as science fiction stories, making their appearance in our current reality. One of these examples is the use of robots in surgical procedures, which would allow the skills of a surgeon to be enhanced thanks to their high precision and technology. With this new technology, the patient could receive specialized care with less pain, less chance of complications, and faster recovery, while on the institutional side it translates into significant savings in addition to fewer waiting lists and efficient use of infrastructure. The surgery is performed by what's called a slave robot. They called it that way because the robot can't make any move whatsoever without the direct order from the surgeon in charge. Unlike laparoscopic surgery, which is generally limited to simple procedures, robotic-assisted surgery can be used for more complex operations. A point to note is that technology will always be a tool. If the specialist isn't good at performing his functions or knowledge, the robot will not be a guarantee of efficiency and precision. If it is, it'll provide many technical facilities to perform the procedures better. Number 15. Army ants are being used to stitch up wounds in the villages of Africa. The famous quote, "necessity is the mother of invention," really portrays the immense creativity that these villagers of Africa prove to be capable of. This small insect, known as the army ant, has a very particular mandible, in the sense that it's quite large and strong, and, as it seems, perfect to perform stitches on open wounds. Oftentimes, residents of the smaller villages in Congo or around Eastern Africa will use them, since band-aids aren't necessarily a luxury that's available in their remote locations. They hold the insect by the back part of their body, line up their jaws with the wound, and then wait until the army ant bites using its powerful jaw. Once the ant has sutured perfectly both sides of the injury, they simply break off the body of the insect, leaving only the head. Thus, they have a natural suture that can be used in the wild if no other supplies are available. It's amazing how well it works, too. The suture itself can hold for days, and if needed, the process can be repeated as many times as it takes for the wound to heal properly. Army ants can be found in abundance, so there's never a low supply of this bizarre yet effective natural stitch. Number 14. Plants respond to touch. Surely you've had the opportunity already to see live or in a video some plants that are capable of reacting to the touch with an amazing speed. One of the best known is the Fabaceae mimosa pudica, also known as sleepyhead among other names, a plant native to the American tropics that's capable of rapidly closing its leaves at the slightest touch, a reaction that's usually very funny for many children. Well, have you ever wondered how plants sense touch and other mechanical stimuli? For about 30 years, scientists have carefully studied some very particular structures present in bacterial cells, the so-called mechanosensitive channels. These channels are small pores that open and close and are distributed in cell membranes. It has been verified that the opening of these channels occurs when the cell is in a more dilute environment than its internal environment, which causes it to fill with liquid and the membrane reaches a higher tension. The opening allows the exit of ions from the cell to the point where the two environments, internal and external, tend to equalize. This explains certain reactions of these microorganisms lacking a nervous system in the face of changing situations in their environment. Number 13. Astonishing moment, 4x4 seems to defy the laws of gravity by climbing up a near vertical rock in Utah. One of the most difficult off-road challenges in the world takes place in the Moab Desert in Utah, United States. And there, the gate of hell demands the maximum 4x4 capabilities of any vehicle, as it is an almost vertical rock climb. Well, the Rivian R1T went there to demonstrate its capabilities. In this video, you're looking at a Rivian electric pickup that has 4 motors, and in its simplest configuration delivers 402 horsepower and 560 Nm of torque. It climbs the legendary hill with a single modification: special tires for the slippery surface. Although the variant that crowned the top is not reported, the Rivian R1T also has a more powerful edition with 753 horsepower and an incredible 1,118 Nm of torque. In any case, both the external video and the onboard camera reveal that even the Input Edition has an impressive performance and that its figures are already an appetizer of its extreme capabilities, since the Rivian R1T can go 0 to 100 km per hour in just 4.9 seconds, and that is just hands down impressive for a 4x4. Number 12. Otters hold hands when asleep. Do you enjoy falling asleep curling up next to your beloved partner? Well, it seems humans are not the only ones that like bedtime cozy cuddles. Otters do too. If you thought otters were cute as it is, just check out this adorable video. The otter is a mammal of the Mustelidae family with predominantly aquatic habits, which means that they are animals that feel more comfortable in the water than on dry land. They have thick, waterproof fur that allows them to retain their body heat. Otters are great swimmers and can close their nostrils underwater, being able to stay underwater for 6 minutes without coming to the surface to breathe. They move through the water at high speed. Just using their front limbs, they can reach speeds of up to 12 kilometers per hour. But why do they hold hands when they're asleep? The explanation, as usual in nature, is more pragmatic than romantic. When they are not eating or grooming, they usually sleep. They even get to wrap themselves in algae as if it were blankets to stay warmer. Being animals that spend most of their time in the water, even when they sleep, they hold hands to prevent the current of the water from dragging them and separating them from the group. In this way, the sea otters ensure that they will not wake up on their own. Otters are intelligent animals. Along with primates, dolphins, and humans, they are the only mammals capable of using objects in the form of tools. It's common to see otters pick up stones and put them on their stomachs to be able to hit the mussels or mollusks until they break, and thus be able to eat them easily. Number 11. Reverse waterfall in India. Of all the fascinating wonders of nature that humans have been able to discover, a reverse waterfall at Nanagat in India is surely one of the things that has left us all in awe. Well, if you didn't know before, this might be your next weekend getaway near Mumbai. Nanagat, or popularly known as Nana Ghat, is a majestic mountain range in Maharashtra, near the Konkan coast and the Deccan Plateau. The serene mountain pass in Maharashtra offers a breathtaking view. For those of you still wondering how this cascading beauty defies gravity, well, it doesn't. The simple reason behind this reverse effect is the strong force of the winds pushing the water up. So while it's highly necessary that you wear warm clothing while you visit, don't forget to pack an umbrella in case it starts to rain. A mountain range like Nana Ghat requires a trek. Whether for the novices or the regulars, a hike up the reverse waterfall is nothing more than a feast for your eyes and food for your soul. An ideal time to visit this serene sight is in the monsoon season, when the force of the cascading water is strong enough to put on quite a show. It takes about 5 hours to cover the entire trek both ways. This waterfall is a demonstration of the immense power of nature, of how the wind makes impossible things come true, and thankfully we can contemplate them. Number 10. Turtles breathe out of their butt. No, this is not a teenage joke, it's actually true. Many animals are unable to resist winter storms with only the shelter of their fur or skin. The underground burrows become the best place to spend a season, in which many others have the possibility of hibernating. This is the case for some turtles, endothermic creatures that can adapt perfectly to the outside temperature and survive in hibernation even in the water. But in this process, there are numerous changes in the organism of these animals, among which the respiratory system stands out. The drop in temperatures reduces the oxygen levels to a minimum due to the freezing of the surface. For this reason, some animals, such as turtles, have to lend themselves to numerous strategies in order to adapt to this type of hibernation process. First, there's a slowdown in the body's functions, thus reducing the amount of oxygen needed to live. But without a doubt, the strangest adaptation lies in the way these animals breathe, since some species, such as the Fitzroy tortoise, can breathe through the anus. It sounds like a joke, but this process is completely true and is known as cloacal breathing. It's a special mechanism that these animals use to extract oxygen from the water they filter. It is undoubtedly one of the most curious respiratory processes that exist that the vast majority of turtles cannot accomplish. Now, of course, this system can't be used infinitely, since the animals that can access it only have an average of 100 days to survive from it. Notably, after cloacal respiration, the turtles' bodies swell to muscular levels like never before. Number 9. The amazing story of a pilot who was sucked out of a plane at 23,000 feet and survived. This story is wild, so much so that it almost doesn't sound real, but like the plot of a Hollywood movie. On June 10, 1990, one of the most incredible events in commercial aviation took place. That day, the pilot Tom Lancaster and the first officer on board, Alastair Atchison, were in charge of the British Airways Flight 5390 that would go from Birmingham in the United Kingdom to Malaga in Spain. At 7:20 local time, the BAC-111 model aircraft, registered as GBJRT and known as the County of South Glamorgan of British Airways, took off from Birmingham and 13 minutes later had already made a climb of 23,000 feet. A few minutes later, when the onboard catering service began to circulate through the corridors, one of the windshields on the pilot's side violently detached. The pressure difference produced an uncontrolled decompression that sucked Captain Lancaster out and, miraculously, left him stuck with his torso out, being only supported by his legs. At the moment of detachment, the cockpit was filled with a dense fog caused by the supersaturation of the air. The cabin door fell off and hit the controls, and papers and objects began to fly, generating a terrifying scenario. However, Nigel Ogden, the flight attendant, was quick to grab Lancaster's seatbelt to hold him down, while John Heward and Simon Rogers secured loose items. Once the situation was relatively controlled, with the crew holding their captain's legs, the plane descending at full speed due to decompression, panic started to set in amongst the passengers. Co-pilot Atchison regained control of the aircraft and issued a mayday signal to begin an emergency descent. Not only did Tim Lancaster survive this unbelievable ordeal, but he even kept working as a pilot for many years after. Number 8. Sharp teeth versus sharp scales. A pangolin defends itself against a lion's jaws. We all call the lion the king of the jungle. It's almost an honor to watch them hunt. Their magnificence truly stands out and hypnotizes us. But what if I told you that the harmless and adorable tiny little pangolin can outsmart a pride of lions all by itself? Pangolins have incredibly strong and tough scales covering most of their bodies, and just like turtles do, when they feel threatened, they curl into a neat ball to protect themselves against hungry predators such as lions. And for the first time ever, the unusual encounter was caught on camera. The armadillo-like animal was captured by a group of lion cubs who were desperate to get to the yummy snack under the tough scales. Some witnesses said that it was like watching a dog trying to get the biscuits from inside a stuffed rubber toy. The cubs looked equally fascinated and frustrated. They could smell the meat underneath the armor of the pangolin, but they could not figure out how to get to it. The pangolin remained curled up until the lions either lost interest or gave up on the possibility of accessing the meal underneath. This curious footage was taken in Kenya's Masai Mara County Park. Number 7. Mr. Tiger's Cave House. A man that calls himself Mr. Tiger decided he had had enough of the big city lifestyle and built himself a new home in the countryside. But this is not your ordinary country home. No, the man that is named for a mighty beast decided he needed a mighty home too. The 35-year-old set his sight on a mountainside and thought it would be the perfect spot. So he started digging and then digging some more and drilling and hammering and sawing until he had a pretty awesome cave. Now, Mr. Tiger's Cave is a neat and cool place with windows, a front door, built-in shelves, and even tiling. He made his bed out of logs and installed solar panels for electricity. For the outside area, he made a garden, a pond, and a fence using only construction debris. The engineering skills that went into making this project are truly outstanding. The kind of dedication it takes to turn an ordinary mountainside into a modern home is really amazing, and he did it all single-handedly. Mr. Tiger now has a YouTube page where he uploads videos teaching people about his techniques. So if you ever find yourself with the need of saying goodbye to the city life and wanting to make your own house carved out of solid rock, this channel is for you. Number 6. Clever octopus asks diver for help while hunting. Octopuses are amongst the smartest animals on Earth. They can solve puzzles and are known escape artists. But what this Australian group of biologists witnessed in Indonesia truly blew their minds. They saw an octopus running around collecting plastic cups and coconuts from the seabed, stacking them and keeping them in case it needs an armor to protect itself from predators. That is planned future use. Not only is this octopus using tools, something that very few animal groups are capable of doing, it was actually planning future use. This is the first time an invertebrate showed the capacity of using tools. There are some wild octopuses that befriend humans as well. They create close bonds and even sometimes ask for their help. Take a look at this adorable little guy asking a diver to turn a log that's too big for him. Presumably, there was under the log a little creature that the octopus wanted to snack on, so it simply asked the human for a hand. The octopus mimics the movement of turning the piece of wood in order to communicate what he wants, and the human complies. In a way, you could say that the octopus is using the human as a tool as well. They're really intelligent, fascinating little creatures. Number 5. This Japanese village creates massive rice paddy art every year. Inakadate is a town located in the Aomori Prefecture in Japan, which has approximately 7,000 inhabitants and is known as a place where rice fields are places for art. The town's history as a tourist destination began in the early 1990s when local authorities realized that young people were moving to large urban centers. Thus, they began to think of ways to breathe new life into the village. One of the proposals was to provide art to the rice fields, a crop made by hand for hundreds of years. Under the name of Tanbo art, meaning rice field art, varieties of rice of different colors began to be used to turn the local fields into giant canvases that endowed the place with intricate designs and, seen from above, breathtaking beauty. The first of these works of art was unveiled in 1993 when purple and yellow rice plants were used to create a detailed image of Mount Iwaki, the highest mountain in Aomori. In addition, an observation deck was set up over the rice field from which people could admire the artwork. The project was so successful that the Inakadate authorities decided to exploit it, making it an annual event. Number 4. Gentoo penguins give pebbles to their love interests. While the world of modern dating can be complicated, whether to swipe left or right, where to go on a first date, life for the Gentoo penguins is thankfully much simpler. A kind gesture with a nice pebble goes a long way. Spring is in the air, and for the Gentoo penguins, that means the annual breeding season's kicking off. It's a noisy and lively time as the penguins dart toward a pile of perfectly smooth pebbles to find the perfect one to woo their mate with. Choosing a pebble's like choosing an engagement ring. It has to be perfect. Gentoo penguins penguins are no exception, and they carefully select the most beautiful and shiny pebble to give to their mate. However, every now and then they see a prettier stone in a neighbor's nest and decide to take it for themselves, which causes some trouble. After presenting the shiny pebble to their mate, if she's satisfied, then they both get to work and build a nest together. It's quite common for penguins to return to the same nest they've used year after year, but after a long winter of not being in use, even the sturdiest of nests needs some redecoration. Number 3. Glowworm Caves of New Zealand. Beneath the surface of New Zealand in Oceania, there is something quite special and unusual. On the North Island of this country, the Waitomo Glowworm Caves, located southeast of the Waikato region, are a labyrinth of incredible limestone caverns whose main attraction is the magical larva of a glowing worm. These creatures emit a phosphorescent light that illuminates the cavern and creates a surreal environment, a magnificent spectacle that nature offers in the bowels of the earth. But this worm doesn't shine to attract our attention. It uses this fascinating mechanism to attract and capture its prey. The first thing it does is wait for the prey to approach. It captivates them with its brightness and then lures them in with its luminous blue beauty to a mucus thread from which they will not be able to detach themselves. The technique is somewhat similar to that of spiders and their sticky spider webs. But don't panic, they don't eat human flesh, so it won't happen to us. The only ones in danger are the poor, distracted insects that enter these caves. The result is a mesmerizing spectacle that looks like a surrealistic night sky inside of a cave, just like magic. Number 2. Possum Playing Dead. The famous phrase "playing possum" refers to the marsupial's technique of playing dead when it feels threatened or when a predator is nearby. Predators know not to eat a dead animal in fear of contracting some kind of nasty disease. But did you know that opossums don't really play dead? Instead, they involuntarily enter a catatonic state. Opossums are more likely to run the other way, bare their teeth, and growl in a threatening way if in danger. So much so that they're in fact famous for their bravado. But even though they have an attitude, it wouldn't be very difficult for most predators to overpower them. When you see the infamous marsupial playing possum, it's simply because it has been attacked or caught unaware, which is too much for their little hearts to deal with. If a dog or a fox comes too close, the creature will drop to the ground and either close its eyes or stare off into space. Their bodies go limp when this happens, and their breathing appears to stop as well. And just like animals do when they die, they discharge their bowels, stick their tongues out, and start drooling a little. Some people amuse themselves poking possums when they're in this state, and they don't respond at all. Well, that's because they aren't really conscious. This defense mechanism is intended to confuse the attacker and allow the opossum to escape with its life. Number 1. Svalbard Global Seed Vault, a giant fridge that stores food for doomsday. Have you ever wondered what would happen if, for whatever unfortunate reason, all the seeds and crops in the world die? Well, don't worry, we wouldn't go hungry, and all thanks to the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, also known as the Doomsday Vault. It's a very special vault where all the seeds in the world are kept in a state of permafrost. It was built in an island halfway between Norway and the North Pole, and it's designed to withstand any natural disaster ever. Human beings have been freezing seeds and crops for a long time now for safekeeping, so if famine or a natural disaster strikes, we can replant our crops and rebuild our society, thus saving humanity. But don't expect to be allowed inside the Doomsday Vault. That will never ever happen. Only the scientists that work there have access to it. It's even completely impossible to reach the island it is built on. But even if you did, you'd have to fight off extreme weather, polar bears, and being completely cut off from the outside world. The vault is 100 meters inside the mountain, which allows its interior to be in a constant frozen state without the need for electricity at all. Cool, huh? I don't know about you, but I said wow more than once during this video. What about you? What topic was your favorite and why? Tell us about it. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.